This is Curious Brain Farts.
Welcome to Curious Brain Farts. Pull up a chair and relax with us two ordinary people as we have a curious chat about something.
If you looked curious brain fart up in the dictionary, what would it say?
A curious brain fart is very much like a regular fart. It's less antisocial, never has a smell, and it can have different characteristics. So, a curious brain fart is literally a thought that's popped into our head, something that we're interested in, something we maybe know something about or know nothing about, that we wanted to talk about.
So Paul.
Yes, Louise.
Listeners, he made a gormless face and it made me laugh. I'm not apologising for it. And that's that. Mic drop. Anyway, before I drop the mic...
No, please don't. They're actually quite expensive.
Paul, how can people get in touch with us if they've got something interesting or even just something that they want us to be curious about?
Well, they could start off by getting some letterhead paper and a wax seal. And if you just write Curious Brain Farts and stick it in the post, it will make its way to us.
Like when people send a letter to Father Christmas.
Precisely. There's another way. You could also drop us an email, thankfully, drop us an email to curiousbrainfarts@gmail.com. Hello, Lou.
Hello, Paul. How are you, my lovely?
I'm all right, chicken.
Good.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Did some yoga this morning, took the dog for a walk.
Nice.
So I'm feeling energized. Love that for me.
Love that for you.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Nothing like a bit of energised.
Exactamundo.
What else apart from yoga energises you?
That's a great question. What else energizes me apart from yoga? Lots of things. I draw a lot of energy from being around other people. I would describe myself as an introverted extrovert.
I'd say I'm an extroverted introvert. No, similar. I get a lot of energy from being around people, and it doesn't mean I want to be shouting around and gooey, look at me.
No. And
sometimes I like to just be quiet.
we were in London yesterday, and I live out in countryside, which I love. And I was noticing the contrast and how the sheer press of humanity, I can only take so much of that before I become a bit overwhelmed. But, you know, like I love going into London and dodging about, ducking and diving, bobbing and weaving. It's great fun. And then I go back to my little hovel in the country. It's not a hovel.
It's not.
My lovely countryside place. And I'm grateful for that too.
Aye.
What energises you, Paul?
Lots of things.
Such as?
Fine.
God. Top three, top one, anything. Give
top
me anything.
Three, right, top three. I'm going to say music, not in any order. They're just part of the top three.
All right.
God, I don't want people judging me. Music, people. That's right.
Amazing.
Oh, and I do actually like walking the dog and exercising. See what I did there?
Beautiful. Do you know, it's interesting, the capability of music, maybe this is a topic we pick up another time, but the capability of music to change your energetic state and how you feel.
Yeah. I love playing it. I love listening to it.
Yeah. I was listening to Bridge Over Troubled Waters this morning.
Were you going over a bridge?
No, nor was I, nor was the water troubled. But it's a beautiful song, and it's anchored in my head to a specific time as well. So then it brought up memories of somebody who's died, and that was really lovely just to remember that person. And so it wasn't like, woohoo, I'm dancing. It was more... Yeah, I was floating down a little river of memories, which was really nice. So the waters were not troubled. There wasn't a bridge, but
And you were a little dinghy.
no, I was floating. Just me in water.
Just you in water. Floating.
Anywho, I fear that we do digress. I mean, we could keep going.
Don't be afraid.
No, I'm not afraid.
Okay.
We've talked about energy. What are we going to... What's our topic for today?
Let's use the random word generator because why not?
Okay.
Fine. Press the button then.
Okay.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
And the winner is...
Vegetables.
Bless you.
Now, this is a topic we didn't know about till now. So we have not prepared any searing insights about vegetables.
I always prepare searing insights about everything we talk about.
So no pressure on you then, Paul.
Well, because, I mean, I spend so much time preparing the things that we don't know we're going to talk about.
Love that. So
Are you cheating? Do you prepare for these?
No.
Huh. Well, it's just because you said you prepared. You said, we prepare to something or other. Maybe I've missed at that.
Now, as is becoming our customary habit, we are going to begin with a definition. So you ready for this?
I am.
And funnily enough, it does tie in to our previous ramblings about energy. So, eyes down for a full house.
Right.
So, vegetables, a plant or part of a plant used as food, e.g. cabbage, potato, carrot. And then there's an informal definition, a person with a very dull or inactive life. I thought I'd sort of flop back and be a vegetable for a bit. A couch potato type of vibe. Interesting.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into, is maybe the flip side of that energy thing. Vegging out. We say that, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm going to veg out today. I'm going to be a complete couch potato.
I'm going to be an asparagus.
Yeah, there isn't a couch asparagus or a couch carrot. For some reason, it's a potato.
And it's very focused on a couch.
That's an American thing, couch
Is it?
potato.
Is it?
Well, couch is an Americanism for a sofa, right? Which is fine.
Great.
But we don't say sofa carrot in the UK.
No.
Which is where we are.
Right. What about, like, bed cabbage? I'm just going to be a bed cabbage today. A couch potato. What's your favourite vegetable?
Well, as you know, I am a vegetarian.
And no one holds that against you.
No, don't hold that against me. I have zero issues. I'm not one of those people who's militant about it and says, oh, I'm a vegetarian, therefore everyone else needs to be a vegetarian. Not at all. It's just that's just a personal preference. So vegetables feature a lot. So it's interesting because my perception of vegetables is that they're the whole meal, not an accompaniment to something else. So it's really a lot easier. I mean, I absolutely love vegetables. It's easier probably for me to say what I don't like because the list of...
A nut roast. Do you like a nut roast?
They can be very, very dry.
Bone dry.
So
you need a nice bit of gravy.
I think it's all in the cooking for me with the vegetables. You can turn any delightful vegetable into a sloppy, horrible mess by cooking it wrong. I'm trying to think now of a vegetable I don't like. I'm struggling.
What were those funny ones I had the other day that looked like okra?
Oh, okra, yeah.
They were a bit funky. I wasn't sure about them. They're a bit slimy.
Turns out you cook it, you can fry it. It's quite nice fried.
Well, I can't actually remember what I did with it. I was like, what on earth is okra? I thought it was like high-pitched singing. Turns out it was opera.
Ba-da-boom. I used to get a vegetable box from a local farm.
God, that must have leaked something terrible.
Oh my God. Sorry everyone about the awful jokes. And that was always a surprise. What am I going to do with 3 turnips and a marrow? You know what I mean? You could never pre-plan anything because you didn't know what veg you... But it did mean you could only eat seasonal things.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting.
Why is that so interesting?
Because you reach a certain period of the year where, and they call it the hunger gap, where the new harvest isn't through.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of late spring. There's very, very little left. And your veg box gets a bit wahey.
I see.
You know, the salads aren't ready. Nothing's ready yet because it's not warm enough and it hasn't had long enough. And all the root veg and all that stuff is really coming to an end, the things that have been stored. So it's the really sparse time of year if you only eat things that grow where you live.
How did... I mean, we're not going to know the answer maybe to these questions. How did people find out which vegetables are vegetables and which ones are going to kill you? Because the definition was plants and all that jazz.
Yeah.
That you can eat.
Yes.
There's quite a lot of plants we can't eat.
Yes.
I wonder, that would have taken quite a long time to figure out.
Trial and indeed error.
Serious error.
Look, guys, don't eat those red berries over there. Bob's keeled over. I don't think he's feeling very well.
And Sandra made a lovely tossed salad with those leaves, and she appears to be foaming heavily at the mouth. So
anyway, Bob and Sandra not so good on the foraging.
And Keith went and got some mushrooms, and I thought they would look lovely. Turns out he's off his face.
Off his face. Absolutely off the face of the planet. Well, yeah, it's really interesting because there are obviously things that we can't eat, shouldn't eat. There are an astonishing number of things that we can, though.
Plants. So, wheat is a plant.
It's not a vegetable, though.
It's interesting because wheat is a plant. Hear me out, right? So, you add tomatoes and basil, which is also... So that's 3 plants. And then you can make yourself a pizza. So what was the definition again?
Well, tomatoes are fruits, aren't they?
They are,
They're not
yes.
vegetables. So the definition is a plant or part of a plant used as food, as such as...
See, so that doesn't actually differentiate between fruits or not.
No, it says such as fruits and vegetables.
There you go.
So it's got a Latin root.
I love salsa.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? A root, stem or flower that's used for food.
So, ginger, considered a spice, not a vegetable.
So let's dig into it then.
Coffee.
Leafy green. So there are 7. I'm on Google, guys. I'm off the reservation in terms of my vegetable knowledge, which is probably bad. I should know this. Leafy greens. That's all your
Leaves
your
that are green.
lettuces, your spinaches, your kales, and all those fellas. Cruciferous. That's your cabbages, your cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, those type of fellas. You got marrows, which is all pumpkins, cucumbers, courgettes or zucchinis, aubergines. All of those fellas are in are in the marrow family.
Or eggplant.
Eggplant, thank you.
I was trying to think what it was.
Yeah. Root veg, which is your potatoes.
Otherwise known as potatoes.
Your carrots and all of those. Yeah, they grow under the
Does that
ground.
include bunions?
Your beetroots. I've got some nice beetroots for a risotto, actually. And then you've got the stems. You can eat some stems of plants like celery, like asparagus. And then the allium family, which is onions, garlic, shallots, all of those type fellas.
Mm.
And I'm sure that is not
It's mad though, isn't it? So,
extensive.
right, Steve, you can eat that one that's under the ground. Don't eat that one that's under the ground. You can eat the stem of that one. Do not eat the stem of this other one. So you could eat that celery. Don't eat the stem of a blackberry bush. Like rhubarb. Don't eat the leaf. Whatever you do.
I think a lot of them won't kill you. They'll give you like an
Two bob
upset
bits.
tummy. Yeah, they'll give you an upset tummy. I was going to say.
Mm.
And
By not swearing, we don't have to put the explicit sign on. Do you get me? So I think rhyming's fine.
And
The Brad Pitts.
yeah. So, like anything, without a definitive, this is good for you, this isn't good for you. They didn't have foraging books. They trial and error.
Mm.
So it was actually quite risky. You know, you literally take your life in your hands. You're going out pick. But there must have been, you know, very quickly some generational knowledge. Do eat this, don't eat that.
I wonder what else you can use vegetables for. Like, there's obviously eating.
Well, you've got that tomato, if we're going to class tomatoes as vegetables, festival, have you not, where they throw tomatoes in Spain.
Mm.
And that's a huge thing.
It's cray-cray.
At the end of the harvest, they just have this massive festival.
And there's obviously the harvest festival over here.
Yeah, and I think lots of cultures have that tradition where they use produce to celebrate and give thanks in whatever way for
their abundance.
What the earth has given in that harvest time, which is, I think that's beautiful, honestly. And, you know, I had a friend come and stay with me. She's a forager. She really knows her stuff. I don't. You know, I pick things that I know, but I wouldn't pick a mushroom because I don't know enough about it. She she went on a walk and she came back and she had a load of apples that had just fallen off a tree. She had some nettles, tops of the nettle.
She couldn't feel her fingers.
And a huge mushroom that she'd found. And she cooked it, the mushroom and the nettles, and we had it on toast, and it was so yum. And that was all freely available. So we walk past, you know, that foraging kind of trend that started. We walk past food all the time that we
Do you
could
know,
eat.
I remember ages ago, because where Lou lives is very, very beautiful, in middle of nowhere. She's not totally cut off, it's just very, very beautiful in the middle of a farm. And we went for a walk with the dags, and there was the smell of wild garlic everywhere. And Lou earlier had made some beautiful pesto with it. And what I was excited about was that Lou discovered that wild garlic is low FODMAP. Because I have to have low FODMAP because I've got some tummy issues. Tummy issues. And the pesto was delish. So we went out and foraged an absolute, like, carrier bags full of the stuff.
We did. Yeah, we did. And it was super yum.
Yeah.
Super yum. So I do some light foraging, I would say.
You're a mild forager.
I am very mild. I know you know, your elderflowers, your elderberries, your wild garlic,
Other elders are available.
your blackberries, you know, things like that.
Mm.
Sloes, bit of sloe gin. However, if you choose to look, so it's all about what you choose to do and how you choose to look at where you are. You can eat dandelion leaves. They're lovely in a salad. For example, the root you can eat, and because they have big roots, dandelions, big old roots, and the flowers. I didn't know this. I found this out. You can make this honey-like substance from dandelion flowers.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
it is very cool. So these, you know, we tend to think of these things, you know, vegetables or, you know, they're cultivated for us in fields and we buy them in the supermarket. And that is true. And they're also everywhere.
What I was thinking about is when I was growing up, I didn't like a lot of vegetables. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's texture and taste and so forth. I just didn't really dig veg. And even just thinking about last night, I remember the first time making a veggie tart.
Yep.
And it's absolutely, whoa. You know, it's up there in like the top 20. Because obviously Lou and I absolutely hate food. we don't talk about it or think about it ever. And it was, you know, full of veg that I wouldn't have had as a child. And what I've also noticed is I went away a while ago with the kids and the choices they had of food was limited. And so there were things that were put in front of them and it was a case of you either eat that or you don't eat. And as a result, at home we're able to have a lot more range of foods. And like one of my kids struggles with tomatoes. He just doesn't get on with them at all. Even tinned tomatoes. And so if I'm feeling generous, I'll blitz the tinned tomatoes when I'm doing a spag bol or a chili or something like that. And then everyone can enjoy the meal together.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely, you know. I was saying the other day to Lou about the cost of living. Oh, the cost of living. It'll date the podcast, hopefully. And actually, there's so much yummy veg out there. Yeah. That I can easily see a time when I won't be wanting to necessarily eat too much meat. You know, I still enjoy it.
Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just think that sometimes some of those conversations have become a bit loaded. You know, and some of the facts and information are misleading or whatever, you know, and everyone needs to do their own research and make up their own minds, and that's absolutely fine. But it's interesting because I was talking to our sister's youngest the other day, and he told me, he said, Lulu, I'm allergic to vegetables, especially if they're green. And I said, oh, are you? Is that right? So he'd come up with this whole story.
Love that.
About how allergic he was to vegetables. And I said, is it the case that you just don't like them? He went, well, yeah, obviously I don't like them. That's why I'm allergic to them.
Hello?
So he'd, in his head, he'd linked the two things together, and it was really funny. But we eat with our eyes, and so that blitzing thing is exactly what I do. I make a sauce, and I put it on pasta, and I put it on homemade pizzas and all sorts of things. But it's packed full of vegetables that my son would not eat if he could physically see them with his eyes. But this is the most delicious sauce he's ever had, and he absolutely loves it. And there's always some in the freezer. But if you said, oh, that's got aubergines and courgettes and this and that, and he'd be like, bleh.
Yeah.
So there is a thing about, you know, if you can see it, you don't want it. If you're, you know, I think that's true for all of us sometimes, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I was also thinking about is when you were saying how the topic around being vegetarian or not can be quite lively, and how, you know, people are maybe trying to push their perspective as the right perspective onto others.
Yeah.
You shouldn't eat meat because so and so. What's wrong with eating meat because of so and so? You know, it's my right, and da 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 da. You know, and then this conflict from nowhere.
I know.
Arises.
Well, it polarises things, doesn't it? And I just think then you're stood in one corner shouting about how you don't want to eat meat.
Can you hear me?
And I'm stood in the other corner shouting about how it's my right to eat meat and I'll eat however many pigs a week I want. And
that would be quite impressive.
Right. And how does that help? It just polarises it. It's like, well, you know, if you want to eat meat, then carry on. Mm-hmm. We've all got different, and to your point, the cost of living, meat is expensive. Mm-hmm. And it's my personal belief that that's correct and it should be expensive. And I'm always slightly suspicious of really cheap meat. My son eats meat and I buy and cook meat for him. And he's not massively keen on it, but he still does like it. And of course, I'm not going to say you can't have it or anything like that. But, you know, it's we see, I think our perception of meat is that it's something every day that we can have. And actually, a lot of us can't afford that now because meat is expensive. And if the animals are well cared for, and this is my personal soapbox, guys, I'm not saying anybody has to align with this at all, but I believe if the animals been looked after well, had a good life and a good death, then, you know, then great. You know, I would not choose to eat that animal, but if I'm buying meat for my son, that's what I try and do, which does mean I cannot afford to buy very much of it because that kind of meat is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know. It's really, really. There's no right or wrong. It's all about personal choice.
Very good. So vegetables.
They're good for you.
They. No. I was about to say something, and I backed away from that.
Okay. Back away from the inappropriate remark.
How do you know?
I know you. That's all I know. I can't read your mind, and I do know you very well. So
you're basically saying I'm inappropriate.
I've known you your whole life.
Right.
Sometimes you're on the edge of appropriateness, and sometimes you're over it.
Okay. Okay. Straight back at you.
That's true. True fact.
True fact. So, yeah. Marvellous. Well, veg.
Get in. I'm inspired to forage, I'm not going to lie to you.
Are you? That's good. I will be foraging in the supermarkets down the cheap aisles.
And I'll be foraging in the places where I walk the dog, not full of dog wee, but I'll be foraging on the farm where it's free. And I'm very, very fortunate to be able to do that.
Lovely. Well, that was great.
Amazing.
Thanks for coming.
See you later.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
Curious Brain Thoughts.